Hello and welcome to Trying Times. My name is Carmen, and if you're new here, then I hope you're having an amazing day, and I appreciate you tuning into this show. I just want to share that. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to tune into this episode, tune into this show, and I hope your day has been wonderful. If it's just getting started, I hope you have a wonderful day. A lot of what I talk about on this show often revolves around things that many of us experience in life, and many of those things may feel awkward or uncomfortable, kind of cringy, but they generally work to shape our lives in some way or another. So I feel like they're all fundamental and kind of maybe annoying or irksome or growing pain types of things that we all deal with and go through. In this episode, I wanted to talk about something a bit different from what I normally discuss. I wanted to focus on the concept of body positivity, and I think the most recent episode was about makeup and how trends can impact routines over time, and obviously the way you see yourself, and maybe how they can complement the way you see yourself or your look or whatever, kind of along those lines. I think makeup is a really interesting thing that's forever evolving. I think that episode can easily have some overlap into this one because there are so many parallels in the way that trends affect a lot of us, kind of like I just said. And I mean, it's no surprise that we're born the way that we are, and that makes everyone beautiful in their own ways. It's also definitely not a secret that over time, things like media and a lot of those outlets can very much affect the way that we see ourselves, because after a while, we come to realize that there's possibly this ideal look or some sort of ideal look out there, if you know what I mean. And if we're not part of that, then what does that mean? Are we supposed to look one ideal way? Is it wrong if we look anything but that way? I have my own answers to those questions, but I do think considering those things definitely opens up this world of questions that don't necessarily have answers for everybody, or not everybody has answers for those questions. And that can feel supremely shitty, honestly, or confusing, or frustrating, maybe even all of the above. But I think from my own personal perspective, I struggled with this a lot as a teenager and sometimes still do as an adult as well. I've always been a bit curvier. I think I grew up in a time, much like many others, where it was only cool or perceived beautiful to be really petite or maybe even just thinner as a whole. And those were two things that I necessarily wasn't. So it made me feel super uncomfortable and out of place, and I think over time affected the way that I felt in my body and viewed myself on an everyday basis, because I was so hyper-focused on the things that I wasn't rather than the things that I was and the things that I am. And that played a heavy role for me. So around my time in middle school and high school was when I noticed more changes in my body, just generally more discomfort in my skin. And I think at this time, it was definitely no surprise, like mid 2000s to like late 2010s. Is that how you say that, I guess? Like I'm thinking 2002 to like 2015. A lot of the people that I was seeing on screen in either television shows, movies, music videos, whatever it may have been, even hosts on media outlet channels, whatever that may be, or the characters that I was reading about were mostly able to be placed into one similar physical category. There was a heavy lack in representation, not only in diversity in terms of race, but also in body type. And I can't lie, it sucked so much. It felt like the worst thing. I think growing up and not seeing someone that looked remotely like you on screen can in so many ways change how you see yourself, and can also make you question yourself, because it kind of just feels off-putting that you're not seeing yourself in the world around you or being represented in the world around you. And I think naturally that is going to make people feel uncomfortable, because then you begin to feel kind of like the odd one out, or maybe even a little bit left out. So I think fast forwarding to now, I want to so badly say that, I mean, like, this has gotten better and that there's more diversity out there. And there is, but there is definitely still a long way to go. We have a long way to go. I think for a minute it was considered cool. I put like air quotes up with that when I say that. I think for a second it was considered cool to be curvy, and that lasted like a year maybe, and then boom, it became trendy again to be more petite or thin and taller. And I want to add when I say that this is in no way any shade to anyone who one, does fit into this category, or two, feels comfortable in this, because whatever you may be or feel better in is what matters. I'm speaking about this from more of a perspective of someone who saw this as a constant growing up. It was something that I saw everywhere growing up and felt like it was the only way I should look. And I indeed looked very far from that and very different from that. So it made me grow this uncertainty in myself. And I almost felt this level of dislike towards myself, really. And it's really crappy to think about now. I don't like to admit that, but it's true. And I know I wasn't the only one who felt this way, and that it's something that so many people feel on a daily basis as well. Like from the ages of 12 to 19, I didn't feel really great in my skin. In my early to now mid-20s, this has definitely been transformative because it's allowed my curiosity and trends and certain pieces and experimenting to be a lot stronger. So I feel better trying things that I may not even have considered when I was in high school, which is exciting because then that shows me that I've had massive growth from that time to now, and then also that I've come a very long way. I guess those are two of the same things pretty much, but it just reminds me that there has been growth there. And again, for me specifically, clothing is one aspect in all of this, but things like food, exercise, those played into it in a very different way. And I don't want to delve into this super heavily into the subject matter or into a story, but I can share that there were definitely times when I was a lot younger where I was trying to exercise maybe too much to lose weight, or that I was skipping meals a certain amount, thinking and hoping in some ways that that would help to achieve some sort of ideal image. It took me a short while, speaking in all honesty, to quickly realize that this was not going to help me. And it was not going to help me be healthy in the long term. It was not going to actually make me feel better in the long term. And it changed a lot about how I viewed myself. With that, I want to share with anyone that may be struggling with this that you are worth so much more than any of those things, and that you deserve to enjoy life to the fullest. I know it feels hard to believe that and think that if you're not looking a specific or certain way, that may not be possible to be able to enjoy life to the fullest. But I want you to know that your body does so much for you and it functions regularly to get you through every single day. So you deserve to eat and live and do everything fully the way that you want to. I know it's not easy and it feels really hard to convince yourself of this. And I'm saying it in part to myself too. But you deserve to nourish your body and in a way that's thanking it for everything it does for you. You deserve to feel proud in your body and in your skin, however it may look, because at the end of the day, no one else is like you. You're one of a kind. And if you're not this ideal image of whatever you may see online or on screen, or how you might wish that you looked, whatever that may be, I know that can possibly hurt. It might hurt a lot, and it's a really shitty feeling, but I hope that one day you can realize you're exactly the way you are for a reason. You're meant to be different. You don't need to be like anyone else, and you're perfect exactly as you are. So there was kind of this short list of things that I learned for myself in beginning to accept myself to a new level and feel proud of my skin. The first thing was my relationship with food. This has been a hard road for me, if I'm being fully transparent. The last 3 years have been difficult, with either not eating as much as I need to or eating more of the things that aren't necessarily nourishing my body in the way that it needs and deserves. Now I'm getting better with this and eating on more of a schedule and becoming so much more aware of the things that make me feel better versus what doesn't make me feel good. And I'm still working on that. So that's number one. The second thing I would say is my relationship with exercise. From either not doing this enough or straining my body by doing this too much, I've managed to find a good balance of this now. I know that this is something I prefer to do to help my mental health and overall my physical strength rather than to look a certain way. And I noticed that mind shift helped make this so much more enjoyable. So I don't necessarily have high expectations around this anymore, and I find ways to enjoy workouts and enjoy that time for myself because I think that's really important. So that's number two. And then the third and final thing is my relationship with myself, which involves a lot of awareness, sometimes almost probably too much, to be honest. So a lot of awareness, acceptance, and overall listening. This is something that's tough because my inner critic is honestly a huge asshole. So learning to listen is a really big deal. It's interesting because I have no problem doing this with my friends and anyone that I'm close with, really. But listening to myself without judgment is really hard. It's important that I learn this now and get better with this because it definitely impacts other aspects I'd mentioned of just working with that awareness and that acceptance. So I think the biggest thing I wanted to highlight in this episode is just that this process looks different for everyone. This episode wasn't totally meant to touch on trends, but to more so highlight the varying celebrations and triumphs that can come with this process of body positivity and learning to become comfortable and confident within yourself. This one was definitely more of a bite-sized episode that shared a lot and hopefully was able to resonate with someone. And I just want to finish this off by saying I appreciate you. I hope you appreciate yourself because you really deserve to. If you want to chat about this episode or just chat in general, please feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast or send me a voicemail by clicking on the link in the episode description. I would really love to hear from you. So if you're feeling up for it, go ahead and do that. But that's all for today. We'll chat again soon, okay? Bye.